Hey guys, how are we doing today, my little nerdlings? What that was awkward as hell. As you can see, I am here at Le Salon Mia. I don't know why I always say it that way. Ooh, here we go. This is better. Hi. Let's go over here because I feel like we need to have a chat. Now, as I'm sure y'all have noticed, I usually keep the comics and cosmetics videos to strictly comics and cosmetics. I never talk about myself personally, but I came across something on YouTube today, just a second ago, actually, and I've seen a lot of stuff like this, and it bothered me, and it always bothers me, and I have a unique opportunity to speak on that and give you guys some real advice from a real amputee. So first and foremost, I will say I am physically disabled. I had made a decision to not mention that or bring that up because, sorry, I have to do something with my hands. My allergies are bothering me terribly too because Missouri has batshit crazy weather. So I had made a decision that I wasn't really going to sit and mention the fact that I am physically disabled. I did grow up in Shriners Hospital for Children. When I went there, it was called Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children. So that's been a long time. I'm old. But I'd made this decision that it wasn't important. So I didn't need to mention it. It had no bearing on who I was as an epic nerd and hairstylist, but it is part of who I am and part of, what has formed me as the woman that I am. And it's come up. I came across this video. I'll just come out and say it. The video I came across was a short recorded by someone who called herself Footless Joe. And she's fairly new. She's been an amputee for 3 years. Her amputation is very similar to mine. I will never, ever show you my leg, show you my stump. That is none of your business. It's none of anyone's business. It's not important. And to be completely frank, which this video is meant to, this live stream is meant to be completely frank. There are some disgusting people out there. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've lived on planet Earth long, but there are some disgusting people out there who seriously fetishize amputees, and it can become a problem. I try to keep it off of my social media, which I don't use that much, because of the disgusting messages that I get. Just to preface, because I'm here to tell you about myself. I was born physically disabled, very physically disabled. I was born with a condition called proximal femoral focal deficiency. Everything from my right hip down was substantially smaller. I was missing an artery, a growth plate, ligaments, tendons, bone density, muscle mass, toes. My foot was straight up and down. That is called a club foot. And from the age of 9 months old till currently, I have had corrective surgeries either every year or every couple of years of my life. When I was 9 years old, they lengthened my leg 7 inches. And then when I was 14, they amputated my foot, thus making me part of the amputee club. When I was 36, they went and they amputated 6 more inches of my leg. So I have been an amputee for almost 30 years. I have a lot of experience, and I've had a lot of shitty questions and a lot of crappy treatment. So if you're one of those people that don't believe there is such a thing as disability discrimination, this is not the video for you. It's just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It does happen. It happens to a lot of people. Everyone deals with it in their own way. I promise you, it's not something that they've made up in their mind. It is stuff that has happened. And that can be very confusing and damaging and hurtful to someone in their very formative years when they experience things like that. Another thing that I have noticed, and I'm not shaming anyway. I'm not saying there's a class system when it comes to disabled persons or amputees. If there is, it wasn't created by us, I promise you. But when you're new to this game, you've come in with this we'll say it, an able-bodied thinking frame of mind. To you, this is, I don't know how to describe it. It's just you come in with this different thought process. When you're someone who has been in this a very long time or since birth, you have a totally different perspective on it. And so that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to give you that perspective. Also, regards to, you know, the class system, there is a bit of a double standard when it comes to being disabled. This is something that a very dear friend of mine and I used to discuss quite a lot, that it seems that some people, and I'm not saying everyone, but some people struggle with being able to understand that you can be physically disabled, but still take care of yourself and not give the appearance of being physically disabled. I hear constantly, oh, well, you're not disabled. You walk just fine. And they think that they're paying me a compliment. But what you're saying underneath those words, in between those lines, what you're saying is that being disabled is a bad thing. It's not. Being disabled is neither a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's just who you are. You know, no more than your eye color being brown, or, you know, your hair being black or red. It's just part of who you are. You just have a steeper hill to climb. You have different hurdles. I have spent my life having to work twice as hard as everyone else around me, and being the only person in the world I knew like me, except for, you know, my dear friend. But the double standard I'm talking about is that a lot of able-bodied people, you're either too disabled, where they expect you to be in a wheelchair and not cognizant or able to care for yourself, or you're not disabled enough to be considered disabled. So if you do a great job of just walking down the street and sweeping your floor, they don't think that you should be able to refer to yourself as disabled because you're making it look good. That's almost insulting to them. Like, it insinuates that you are trying to take advantage of whatever system. And that is so dangerous. It messes with that person's head so much. It gives them this concept that they can never show you that they're hurting, that they can never ask you for help when they need it, because you will come and tell them, but you're doing just fine. What do you need my help for? You're just trying to take advantage. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just because they make it look good doesn't mean that burden isn't heavy. That's not for you to judge. If you are an expert on being able to spot how much pain someone is feeling just by looking at them, raise your hand. No one is. You don't know that. Especially someone who is a chronic pain sufferer. If they're dealing with pain every single day, and let me assure you, anyone who has an amputation, especially a lower limb, a leg amputation, they are experiencing daily pain. And it may not just be muscular or bone. There is phantom pains and neuropathy, which are debilitating. And I do mean debilitating. I've had them drop me to the floor, and they happen very sudden. They come out of nowhere and they disappear out of nowhere. And it's embarrassing. And you try so hard not to react to it, but it is real. It's a real pain. Anyone who is an amputee is dealing with pain on a certain level every single day, to work, to take care of themselves, to take care of their families. It is a struggle for them. They have to work very hard to grit through that and accomplish whatever task they're doing. I'm not saying jump in and help them with everything. Don't do that either. But acknowledge the fact that you don't know. You don't know what they're feeling. You have no way. You have no frame of reference. I've had many people, even recently, ask me to explain this to me. Explain that. How? How would you like me to do that? You have zero frame of reference. There's nothing you have experienced that I can use to compare that to? There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. So, number 2, don't ask them to make you understand. Not their job to do your homework for you. Use empathy. Be empathetic. Know that they are dealing and struggling with something that you can never possibly ever understand unless it happens to you. So, first and foremost, don't ask them that question. Now, the thing that kind of prompted me to do this live stream, this very specific live stream. There's a lot of trucks out front. This is a salon, busy street. Is that this woman said, let's talk about amputation and sexuality. She has been an amputee for 3 years, and she says in the short that she was already in a long-term committed relationship when she had the amputation. And she's, already a grown woman. And she said it didn't really change much. And then the dreaded question. This is the worst question you could ask me or any other amputee that I know. I take it off during intercourse, during sex, because, carbon fiber and ha, 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 ha. Let me tell you something. If you ask me, and this is asked all the time, let me back up just a second. There are several questions that I get asked every single time someone finds out I am missing my right leg. Now, the first thing they say, first thing out of their mouth, well, you walk just fine. Thanks. So do you. It's not a talent that I've worked at. It's not something I want to win an award for. I don't need to hear that. Okay. But thank you. So they say that, and then they say, do you sleep with it on? For real? Do you sleep with your shoes on? Is that comfortable for you? Okay. Common sense. Answer your own question. Moving on. Do you bathe with it on? Same question back to you. Do you bathe with your shoes on? But honestly, is that any of your business? Is it? The answer is no. That's no. And then my least favorite question, by far the most intrusive and rudest question you could ask any amputee, and it seems to be registered for mainly the female amputees. Do you leave it on when you have sex? Do you have sex with it on? None of your business. Why do you even want to know that? That's disgusting. And I've got to tell you that the amount of people that don't even know me or barely know me compared to the people that know me plenty, that have known me for a while, that ask me that question is seriously disproportionate. It normally comes out of the mouths of people that really don't know me that well. Why would you ask someone you barely know how they screw, how they are intimate with other people? That is sacred, bro. That is private time. That is personal. That is so intrusive and so rude. And it really, really surprised me that this woman was so open and free to discuss those things. Because, and not that I'm saying, I don't talk about sex or I'm a prude or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it encourages assholes to continue to be assholes. It invites them into your life like they have right to ask you something so personal and private. That's not okay, man. That is not okay. I don't ask you how you do it. Why on earth would you think it's okay to ask me that question? And why on earth would you sit in front of a camera and tell people that stuff? That, look, you've been an amputee for 3 years. You were in a committed relationship for several years, a long-term committed relationship, already married for almost 10 years when you had that amputation. Your perspective on how that changed your intimacy is virtually invalid. I mean, if you want to know how your intimacy level changed in a committed relationship with someone who already loves and supports you physically and emotionally, there you go. But to answer for amputees in general, I don't think that's appropriate, because let me tell you something. Let me tell you my experience with it, because it completely changed everything. I was not treated as the other girls my age by boys the same way they were. And I realized that teenage boys and adolescent young adult boys are dicks. Okay. Let's face it. They have about as much control over their emotions and their filter as young girls do. I get it. I understand that. But with that being said, what makes you think that they are equipped to separate that when it comes to girls that are totally different? Teenagers in general, like I said, they're struggling with their hormones and with their emotions. I tell my kids it's kind of like when Peter Parker got bit by the radioactive spider. He struggled with his superpowers at first until he practiced and learned how to control them. Teenagers are no different. They've all been bitten by the hormone spider. Okay. And when they see anything that is different about someone else, they're not nice about it, and they're not quiet about it, for the most part. And it has a lot to do also with how they've been raised. If they were raised by bigoted assholes, then they're going to be bigoted assholes. And I grew up in a very small southeastern Missouri area. So there were a lot of those. Before my amputation, I got called Alien Foot. Afterwards, I got called Peggy the Pirate. And they would pick on me constantly about it. No one wanted to date me because I was the weirdo with the fake leg, the girl with one leg, the girl with one leg. And I cannot tell you how many times people expected me to be mentally challenged because I had a physical disability. I am not exaggerating. I had one girl look at me in 10th grade and say, "You'd think you'd be, but you're not." Who raised you? Who raised you? Why would you? What? They actually put me in the LD study skills class, the LD homeroom. The school district did, because I was physically disabled. So, of course, those kids were going to be buttholes about it. My point is, it made me very terrified to be vulnerable or intimate with anyone. I was scared to death when I first started dating my partner that I am with now. He tried taking my leg off because I fell asleep on the couch, and I freaked the hell out. I mean, panicked. Because I didn't want him to define me as that. I didn't want him to see me like that, because my entire life, that's how I was defined by other people. I didn't ask for that. I didn't allow that. That's just what they did. Anytime anyone got mad at me, the leg was thrown in my face. Sometimes literally. I mean, come on. That something like that completely changes your intimate life. And not so much physically, okay, as she was focusing on. I'm talking about mentally and emotionally. That person you were going to grow up to be, that person you were going to be is gone. It is a death that you have to mourn. The person you were going to be in that future is gone. And you have to learn to love and get to know the person you are now. That is a massive thing, a massive, huge thing. And for anyone to tell you that that didn't change intimacy and vulnerability for them, they are lying to you, because there's no way. The way you physically see yourself, that physical appearance in the mirror has completely changed. So the image in your head has changed. And then when other people point it out and ask you horribly intrusive and rude questions, how you see other people seeing you changes. It's just not okay. It is not okay to ask people those questions. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. And please stop getting these ideas for what a disabled person is and how they behave. Quit getting that in your head. Okay? Just quit. That has nothing to do with us and everything to do with you. Okay? I am a very driven, intelligent, and talented woman. I have supported myself my whole life. I've worked very hard my whole life for what little I have. My amputation has not affected how I take care of myself, really. Has not affected my ability to interact with you. Now, it may make it a little difficult sometimes for us to relate to one another, because I'm not the same physically as any other human that I know. But it doesn't make me any less of a human. And unfortunately, a lot of people see it that way. It has given me a lot of things. It has been a double-edged sword. I will tell you that. It has given me a lot of strength, but it has also given me a lot of mental and physical pain, a lot of emotional pain. But it's also given me a lot of empathy. A lot of empathy. I know what it's like to be a little girl and watch TV and not see myself up there, thus making me feel less encouraged to want to do more, to be more than what I was. I know what that felt like. And like I said, my allergies are driving me crazy. On top of that, when you did see someone disabled on television, up until very recently, 9 times out of 10, it was just an actor pretending to be disabled, like Tom Cruise and Born on the 4th of July, The Rock and Skyscraper. Those aren't amputees or paraplegics. They're just green screening it or what have you. Very pleased with Echo in Hawkeye. The actress is an amputee, and she wasn't one-dimensional. She wasn't the token cripple. That happens. You know, if it was if it wasn't an actor pretending to be disabled, then it was an actually disabled person, and that was the long and short of their entire character. It was very one-dimensional. They were the token cripple. And like when they Lock and Key, that poor guy, they got the double amputee and they just show him in shorts 24/7. It's like they don't want us to forget for a second that he's different from everyone else. You think we want that? Do you think we want to be defined by the physical difference we have from you? No. That's ridiculous. They are so much more to me than the fiberglass and titanium below my right knee. I've published a novel. I've raised 4 kids by myself. I own my own salon. There's so much more to me. And it really disgusts me when I see television and movies and other forms of entertainment and media tokenize disabled people and make them one-dimensional. And then you have people throw that back at you and will make me understand. I can't. That's something you're going to have to live with. The only thing you're missing out on is not missing out. You're just not. In Hawkeye, when Echo is a little girl and she's talking to her dad, and he says that you have to learn to jump between both worlds, saying that, you know, she's part of both, but never really belonging to either or the other. I felt that in my soul. That was the first time. I'm going to try not to cry. That got me really emotional. That is the only time I have ever seen or heard myself truly represented on TV, that there was ever anyone like me on the screen. Ever. I'm almost 42 years old. That's a long time. When I was born, there was something called the Ugly Law, the federal law called the Ugly Law, and it was enforced on me as a small child more than once. The Ugly Law said that if you went into a public area and your disability bothered the other people, the other able-bodied people, so much, they could have you removed. And if you refused to be removed, they could have you arrested. You know what that did to children, to people? Do you have any idea what that did to me as a 11-year-old child? I can't go into the fair because it'll bother other people. What? That stuff happened. It does happen. It's like the last allowed discrimination because less people understand it. It bothers me when I see, and maybe this is a personal hang-up. I can admit that's very possible. It could be a personal hang-up, but it does bother me when I see new amputees, or amputees, but it's mostly newer amputees trying to capitalize off of their disability because they're defining themselves by that physical trait. They are defining themselves by their difference, and they are encouraging other less educated, less emotionally educated, able-bodied people to continue to define all disabled people by their disability. Not cool. Not cool. If you want to get a bunch of devotee trash in your inbox, whatever, that's none of my business. But don't sit there on a worldwide platform and encourage people to ask violating questions of other amputees. We don't like it. So if you have a friend or you want to be friends, date, whatever, an amputee, I am here to tell you, don't ask them what they do with their leg when they become intimate. Don't. You'll find out, I promise. If you're lucky and you get to that point, you'll find out. You'll cross that bridge when you come to it. But the answer you will get is it's none of your fucking business. Okay? Don't be a dick, be a dude. Murderface was not wrong. So if you have any legitimate questions that aren't intrusive or, violating my personal sanctity, I'm happy to answer them. Please leave a comment. Send me a message on Comics and Cosmetics on Facebook, on the Comics and Cosmetics Instagram. If you like the content I put out, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit the notification bell. But anyone that asks me anything intrusive, rude, overtly personal, I will block you. I don't have time for that. I don't care. But again, I'm Danny Santasy, licensed cosmetologist, registered super nerd, and 30-year-old amputee veteran. It's out there. Until then, guys, have a good day, nerdlings. and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.